Welcome. Last time we worked on a few widgets. Now we are going to work on connecting the blueprint widgets to our C++ code. So let's get to it. Alright, so first thing first, I'm going to go to my component and I'm going to make a new C++ class here. I'm going to make another actor component and call that one inventory UI manager. Right. So this class is going to be responsible for communicating between the widgets in the blueprint and the C++ code. I don't want the widgets to have access to the inventory component directly per se. So we'll use this as an abstraction layer to communicate information to the blueprint widgets. Let's clean this up a little bit. So we don't need this. So what we'll need here, UI manager will need, let's go, I'm gonna make a, let's do private. In the private, I'm going to add a, let's do a U property, make it transient, that is fine. Object pointer, U, IT, inventory component. There we go, and let's forward declare it. Inventory component, we'll call it, set it to null pointer by default. Oh, and so if you don't know what transient means, it's just to tell Unreal that we don't want this variable here to be saved. Basically, it's just going to be a variable that only exists at runtime. I'm also going to add a, let's add a getter maybe. Let's add a getter for it too. And I'm also going to add a getter function. Let's do a function, do a blueprint your category inventory, let's do UI. And UIT inventory component. Get in inventory component, return the inventory component. There we go. Alright, so we've got our inventory UI manager. It needs, alright, so we've got our inventory UI manager and it needs access to the inventory component because that's where all the information, because that's where the actual inventory is on. So we need access to that so we can retrieve information to update the widgets. I'm going to make a void init. Initialize. Let's do initialize UI manager function, I guess. I'll leave it empty for now. We'll see. Anyway, let's create this. Let me clean this up. Okay, we don't need any of that. Don't need any of this. Alright, and I'm gonna set this to false. So no need for ticking. Alright. For initialize, I guess for now all I need to do is to make sure to initialize the inventory component that I have on. So let's do that. So let's do get owner, do question mark, get owner, find component by class, IT inventory component. Don't forget the include, otherwise null pointer. Okay, so we just check if we have the owner, which in this case is going to be the the player controller. I think we put this on the player controller. If it's valid, then we try to find the inventory component on it. If we find one, we just set this to it. If we didn't find anything, then we just set it to null pointer. Yeah, pretty easy so far. And we're just going to call this in begin play. So I'm going to do that. So as soon as the game starts, we initialize the UI manager. Great. Let's see, what should I do next? Let's add the ability to open and close the inventory because we were doing it in the blueprint there, and I want to make a function for it. Okay, let's add the ability to open and close our widgets, like the inventory and such. We'll start with the inventory first. Actually, I'm gonna put that in the public here. Let's do a void toggle inventory widget. Later we can probably expand on this function so that it can open any widget. For now that will do. I will also need an open inventory widget and a void close inventory widget. So toggle is going to use these two functions. Let's add some new function, blueprint call label, that's fine, new function, and same here. Great. All right, let's implement these. Now, and one more thing I'm gonna add, I want to track what UI I have open. I'm going to go to the private, actually, let's put that here. T object pointer use widget active inventory, just active widget, active inventory widget. Integral here, I'm going to check if I have a open inventory. If I do, I'm going to close it and return. If we don't have one open, then I'm just going to open the inventory widget. Very simple. So we just call toggle, so if the inventory is open, we close it, and if the inventory is closed, we open it. So let's go to open. I'm going to first check if I have one already open, because if it's already open, I'll just return. Let's get the player controller. Player controller, cast, do this, make sure that it's valid. Okay, so now we can open the inventory widget, put it on the screen. But the problem is we don't have access to it yet, because it's a blueprint class and we don't have any C++ to represent that class yet. So let's do that next, I guess. Let's add some C++ for each of the widget that we created. So I'm gonna make a new class, find a user widget. I'm gonna call this, let's do player inventory widget. And I'm gonna put that in inventory UI, and in, let's do widgets. Cool. So let's clean this up a little bit. Right, nice. Okay, I'm gonna add a public and make a function here called init inventory widget. Alright, so my player inventory widget will need to have access to the UI manager, and potentially I should pass in the inventory component also. Let's do inventory manager. Let's do this in inventory UI manager. I don't know if I should pass in the inventory component also. I don't think so, don't need it. Yeah, that's all it needs. Let's make a protected section. The protected section, alright, so I will need a variable to store the inventory UI manager. So let's do t object point to a inventory UI manager. Let's do u property category equals. Now another thing that my player inventory will need is a variable to a inventory grid. So in player inventory widget, the one that we created, we did add a grid, also inventory grid, and in that grid is where we are going to add all the slots, right? We made that last time. The grid is here, so I need a reference to this grid. So let's add this here. I'm gonna do a t object pointer UI inventory grid. Nope. Alright. So let's. Okay, what do we want to happen in it? Inventory widget. For now, all I need is inventory UI manager is this. Yep. That's all I need. Yeah. And let's make some more widget classes for the other one. So I'm going to make a IT inventory grid widget, and while I'm at it, I'm just going to add another one. I'm going to add a inventory slot widget. Okay, let's go to the grid. The grid will contain all the slots, right? Okay, here too, I'm going to add a public and do a void init grid widget. And it's going to take in the UI manager. Let's forward declare it in inventory UI manager. Great. And let's make a protected section. Let's add the T object. You know what? Let me just copy that from here. It's the exact same thing. And then the slot, which is going to be the representation of the item. So I'm going to add a void init slot widget. Great. And let's add a protected. Paste this one also here. Needs to have the forward declare. Good. Alright, so now we have all of this. I'm going to compile, and I got a bunch of errors, but I think I know why. It's because we are missing here in the build.cs. we need to add umg, because that's where all the UI stuff is in. So let's try this again. Alright, it compiled. I am in. So let me just go and set the C++ classes on the widgets we are using them. I think I don't have that one open. Okay, so I'm gonna go to the graph class setting and change this to find my is it inventory slot. Oh, I made it a U object. Oh shit. Oh, I just realized that I made them U object instead of instead of widgets. So let's change that. That should be a user widget. I didn't even realize. That should be a blueprint widget. And let me just copy this here. All of them should be. This one is a user widget, so that's fine. Now this one is, and this to be here, user widget. And which one am I missing? I did this slot. Okay, now we are all user widgets. Right, let me compile again. Okay, let's see now. So if I open all the widgets, starting from the slot, graph, class setting, now I should have, okay, here it is, inventory slot widget. So I'm gonna change the parent to this one. Good. Same for the grid. I'm gonna go to class setting, change it to this one, inventory grid widget. Good. And finally the last one, the player inventory. So let's do this and change it. Nice. Alright, so that's done. Now let's finish with this here. So I have a toggle function here that when we call it, it's going to open the inventory widget and either open it or close it if it's already open. And I want to track if I have it open or not. And in order to do that, I'm going to change this to a U player inventory widget, and I'm going to forward declare it. So it's here. Alright, so now I can keep track of it. I'm gonna give it a U property and make it transient. And also, I'm also gonna need a U property. Let's do a edit default only category inventory, and then do a T subclass of UIT player inventory widget class. So this is what we're going to construct, right? We need access to the blueprint that we created. So we'll set this here, and then we can construct it. Good. Let me also add one more function. It can be private. Let's do void update input mode pull b inventory open. This is for, so when you open the inventory, I want to have access to my mouse. I want to see my mouse so I can click on stuff in the inventory. And when I close it, I want it to hide the mouse and go back to gameplay input only. I'm just gonna move some stuff around like this. Begin play can be all the way up here. Then you have toggle, open, close. Same thing for the initialize. Let's move it here. toggle, open, close, and the update. Great. Let's do the update first, actually. So what I'm gonna need is the player controller. Make sure that I do have the player controller. Then we can check B inventory open and do player controller, show mouse cursor to true. We need an input mode, game, and UI. Call it input mode, set cursor during capture, we'll do false, input mode, lock mouse to viewport behavior. That will depend on your game, whatever you want to use. Let's do lock in full screen, don't matter. And then we set the input mode on the player controller and we return. Now otherwise we will do player controller B show mouse cursor is false, input mode, F input mode, and player controller set input mode. There we go. Okay, so now back to here where we were trying to open the inventory. So what I'm gonna do is get my active inventory widget and then set that to create widget. Let's create the inventory widget. We're trying to open it. Let's create the inventory widget. Player inventory widget. We need the player controller to pass in and the widget class, inventory widget class. Great, now it's complaining. It added this here that was missing. And then we have this complaining. We are missing the actually we can just remove this one and do the include. It's in inventory UI widget player inventory. There we go. That fixes it. Nice. So we create the widget from the widget class. We store it here so we know if it's open or not, if it's valid. Initialize it. So it requires the inventory UI manager, which this class is the inventory UI manager. So I can just do this, passing it itself in, and let's do active add to viewport. Yep, put it on the screen, and don't forget to update the UI, the input mode. Great. All right. Next, let's do close. For close, let's check if it's not active. Because if there's nothing active and there's nothing to close, right? And then we'll do not remove from viewport, but remove from parents, and set this to null pointer, and then update the input mode so that it goes back to hiding the mouse cursor. I think that that's it for that. Yeah, that should be good. Nice. Can we test this? Yeah, we should be able to test this now. So let's compile. Right. Let me go to the third person blueprint, the player controller. Let's add new inventory UI manager that I created. I got UI here. I need to set my WBP player inventory. Cool. What is this doing? Just adding and removing items. Yeah. Nice, nice, nice. So now if I press play, oh, and let's add a keyboard I. So when I press I, it should open my inventory. We'll get the compile. Let's get the UI manager and do toggle. Yep. Here, actually, we should probably check if it's valid or not first. Alright, so let's test this out. If I press I, if I press it again, yep, works. I can see my mouse. Press it, it goes away. Nice. That's working. Cool. And let's minimize this, go back to here. We're done with this one for now. Let's go to the player inventory widget itself. I need to add, so the player inventory widget needs access to the grid. So let me go back to here, UI window here. The player inventory here, as you can see, it contains the grid. So I need a reference to the grid. The grid is what's going to contain all the slots, right? So here I'm going to add a object pointer inventory grid widget, and let's forward declare it. Just call it grid widget is fine. Null pointer by default, and let's give it a U property. blueprint read only, any category. All right. Let's go to the init here and do if grid widget. Let's do grid widget and initialize the grid widget. Now it's complaining cannot resolve grid widget. Why is that? Init grid widget. Yeah. So we open the inventory, the player inventory. It initialized the grid inside of the inventory. Good. Oh, one thing I'm gonna add. I think. No. We'll see if we need it or not. We'll see. So yeah. So this initialized the grid. So let's go to the grid. In the grid will contain the slots, right? So we need a reference to the widget, the slot widget. So let's add actually the grid will need to create the slots. So I'm gonna do a T subclass of, let's do inventory slots, forward declare, and do slot widget class. Alright, and U property, edit default, category, UI. This will need a uniform grid also, which we did create. If I go to my UI folder to the grid here, I have this grid inside of it here, this uniform grid panel that we added. This will contain all the slots that we create and keep them nice and neat. So I need a reference to that. So let's add this. So let's do key object pointer uniform panel must be it. Forward declare it. I'm gonna call this slot grid. Sure, why not? Slot grid panel. New property. Let's do blueprint read only, any category here. Right, that's nice. Let's go to the CPP now. Oh, I don't have anything in it. Let me just do this. Okay. Inventory UI manager to be set first. Oh, actually this should be called in. Alright, so in, change this. And we're gonna come back to this class after. We need to, so this is where we are going to build all the slots. Yeah, let's go to the slots first. Let's go to the slot widget. Well, you'll need a slot indexed. Alright, so let's do index none. Let's give it a U property. Blueprint read only category, and let's make a getter for this also. Let's do an int32 get slot indexed const return slot indexed. Or we could have made this public. Make this a U function, print pure category UI. Alright, now let's open this. Let's do, oh, actually initializing a slot will need indexed here. So int32 in slot indexed. So when we create one of these, we need to give it a indexed, so it knows where it is, what slot it's representing. So we'll do this, and then here we'll do slot indexed in slot indexed. Alright, great. Done with the slot. I think I'm done with this one also. Now we can focus on the grid. This is where all the magic happens. Alright, yeah, okay, this video is getting a bit long already, so let's just do a test and see if everything is working. Then we'll continue in the next video. Yeah. Okay, so let's do a U function. Sure. Let's do a void. I'm gonna do void, and let's do build test slot, just to see if everything is working. Yep. Let me do that. Let me just do this. Generate this. Oh wait, I forgot this. All right. And here, let's do inventory UI manager, and it's called build test slot. Oh, and this shouldn't be in. All right. So now what we want to happen here. First thing first, I'm going to check if my slot grid is valid. I need a slot grid. Oh, what did I call it? Oh, slot grid panel. So let's make sure that we do have one of these. Let's actually add a UE log here. Log time. Let's do warning text. Inventory grid widget could not find slot grid. Could, and return. What else? Let's check for the slot widget class. Also, we need to make sure that this is set. Let's do log temp warning. Let's do a text that says inventory grid widget has no slot widget class set, and then return. It's complaining about this. Let's do the include. Alright, and now we need to build all the slots. I'm gonna do an int32 first, test slot count. I'm going to build 100 of them. I'm gonna do an int32 test column count. It will be 10, so we'll do 10 by 10. And first let's get the slot grid panel and do clear children. Make sure it's empty and clean before we add our slot to it. And then we can do a for loop. We'll do slot index 0, and yep, that seems correct. We'll loop as long as slot index is less than the test slot count. So that will be 100 because it starts from 0, and then it's gonna go 1, 2, 3 till 99, which will give us 100 slot. As 0 is included. Let's do raw. We need the raw amount of raw will be slot index divide by test column count, and then we'll also need 32 columns. Yep, that's correct. Modulo and inventory slot widget. Slot, we'll just call it slot widget. Create widget. Do IT slot widget. Do get earning player widget class. No, slot widget class. Alright, and make sure that it's valid, otherwise we can just continue. Slot widget, let's initialize every single one of them every time. Yep, passing in the inventory UI manager and the slot indexed. And then we'll do slot grid panel, add children to uniform grid. So the slot widget that we just created, need to pass in the row and columns. Alright, I think that's it. Yeah, that should be it. Let's go and test all of this. So let's compile. Okay, so I got a crash, and let's see. So okay, so I figured it out. So I'm just missing bind widget here, and here also we'll need the same thing, equals bind widget, and it should compile now, hopefully. All right, now I'm in. It compiled. Nice. Let's check this. Yeah, this is set here. This is all good here. Just making sure. And what about these things? So here, do I have anything to set here? Yep, and we need to go to the inventory grid, and where is it? UI, and set the WBP inventory slot here so it can create them. Oh, it's complaining. Uniform grid was not found. Oh, I named it differently there. Okay, we'll just rename this to panel. Okay, that should work now. Nice. And I guess the only thing that's left is just to test it. Let's just save and press play. If I press I, hey, look at that, it works. Nice. Okay, and also I see that it doesn't fit in properly, so let's work on that. I'm gonna go to the player inventory here. So this is what I'm using, 640 for size X and 700 for size Y. Alright, and for the slot, I'm going to select the slot and add some padding, just one. That's enough. Alright, and now let's do this so it's bigger. Alright, so now if I press I, hey, nice. Now it fits properly. Yep, and looks very nice. Alright, cool. So we got a lot of things done. Obviously it's not working properly yet, but we're getting there. Now we can see stuff on the screen being displayed in the inventory. So that is great. Yeah, I guess I'll end it here. This was very exhausting for me. Like, comment, subscribe. There's a Discord you can join. There's a Patreon also I have with the next tutorial on there if you want to support me there. And yeah, see you in the next one. Bye.